All right, in this segment we want to talk about brain to body communication. So what you need to understand is this, is that your nervous system, which makes up the brain, the spinal cord, and 43 miles of nerves that come off your spinal cord, that's called the nervous system. That is how, we call that the master control system of your body. So everything starts in the brain, sends a signal down the spinal cord, and those signals go to every organ and tissue of your body. So in order to have a properly functioning body, in order to get rid of some disease and sicknesses, you need to have a proper functioning nervous system. So let me help you understand a few more things about the nervous system. The nerve tissue is delicate. As a matter of fact, one study said the weight of a dime on a nerve can reduce flow by 50%. So because it's so delicate, our Creator did some things to protect it. And one of the things that we have for protection is bone around the nervous system. So the skull protects the brain. And then as you get the spinal cord, we have 24 movable vertebrae that protect the spinal cord. Now, each vertebrae, besides the top one, has a disc in between it and some bony locks, so it can only move so far. And you can see the spinal cord and the spinal nerves come out of it. So this gives it a lot of protection because it is so delicate. Now, if there's any interference in the nerve signal from the brain to the body, you're going to get malfunction. So for example, if we actually severed or cut a nerve, anything that nerve went to would not function normally anymore. You've heard of people that have had severe accidents where they've had a spinal cord injury and maybe now their legs don't work. That's because they actually cut the nerve signal at a lower level, and that's affecting everything below that level. The higher you go up in the nervous system, the higher you go up in the spinal cord, the more nerve interference it causes. So sometimes when people have upper neck or mid neck injuries, they can literally have paralysis, or maybe their arms don't work, their legs don't work, and a lot of organ and tissue malfunction. That's because they damage things up higher. So the good news is that kind of event is rare. Occasionally you can have things like a tumor in the spinal cord that could also cause interference. Also, the good news is that is rare. What science has found to be the most common cause of nerve system interference is what we call spinal misalignment. That is where one of the spinal bones is slightly misaligned, not enough to put a pressure on, not even enough to pinch necessarily, but enough to cause swelling and inflammation, enough to alter the normal nerve signal. So a chiropractor's job is to try to detect to see is there spinal misalignment, and if so, we want to correct it. So what should a normal spine look like? Well, let me show you an example. So this is a model. This was my daughter's first boyfriend, and I'm going to show you, using him as an example, what a normal spine should be. So if you look at a spine straight on, so if you're looking at somebody from the behind or front, the spine should be straight. If you look at them from the side, the neck should curve forward, the mid back should curve this way, and the low back curves forward. That would be what we consider a normal balanced spine. So, as a chiropractor, we're going to analyze to see, do you have normal curves? Is your structure balanced? Or do you have spinal misalignment with nerve pressure causing malfunction? So let me show you a couple of other things. Now there are, as I said earlier, there's 24 movable bones in the spine. They all have a bony lock and a disc besides the upper cervical spine. So the upper cervical spine is mostly this atlas bone right here. It's a little tiny bone. Your skull sits on this, and the rest of the spine is below this. Well, the atlas, between the atlas and the skull, and the atlas and the second cervical, which is this, there are no bony locks. There are no discs to hold it in place. So it's a very vulnerable area of the spine. It can misalign in many unique ways. It can tilt, it can rotate, the head can tilt, the neck can kink. So out of any area of the spine that can cause misalignment, this is probably the most important. And the reason is this: the higher you go in the spinal column, just like we talked about earlier, it can cause the most nerve interference. So we know that when this misaligns, it can literally cause spinal cord distortion or pressure. So it can affect the signals from the brain to the rest of your body. You also have arteries that feed your brain. They go up through little holes in this bone here as well. So it can affect the blood flow to your head. It can also, studies have shown, affects cerebral spinal fluid flow around your brain. So you get a misalignment here, it can cause a whole bunch of things in your head, or it can cause anything below. Because just like a garden hose, if you get a kink in the hose here, anything below can be affected. So this is really, really an important area to get right, and this is why our clinic specializes in this area, because of how powerful it is. The other thing we know is that when this misaligns, it causes a condition called body imbalance. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a picture of what that looks like now. So let's take a look at what I mean about the body imbalance. So this picture right here shows an atlas misalignment, shows the head tilt, and shows the interference between brain to body communication. This picture actually shows you what body imbalance looks like. So oftentimes we'll see the shoulders not be level, the hips not be level, and the leg length not be level, because this area is sending faulty signals to your postural muscles and causing them to contract. So as long as your upper cervical spine is out of alignment, you're going to have body imbalance. That will also keep other areas below the neck from staying in proper alignment. So in our opinion, if we want to help the whole spine, we got to do the upper cervical spine first, see what the body self-corrects, and then we'll make corrections lower if needed.